The mole is the heart of chemistry calculations, and in order for us to be able to do well in the next 2 units is we need to be able to understand the mole concept and how we can use conversion factors to maneuver to and from the mole and other units. And so, being close to Valentine's Day, and because the mole is the heart of what we're going to be doing mathematically, I decided that we were going to use a simple foldable that we can put all of our mole information into, something that we can keep folded shut most of the time with all of our information in there, so that you can work through the problems as best you can. If you get stuck or if you want to check yourself, then you can open up the heart, see the information that's in there, and check yourself. So in class we had pink paper, and it really doesn't matter what kind of paper you have. It can be just plain old white copy paper. And what we did was we took this paper and we folded it in half so that the paper looks like this. And we started on the bottom of this folded edge here, so we just started cutting kind of a curve all the way around, just like in this picture here. And you want to cut as much as you can of the paper, because remember, we're going to be writing notes in this, so you want to have room for those notes. Okay, so open up your heart, and to write in this information, we're going to start again with the mole. We're going to make a smaller heart in the center. We're going to write the term mole right in there, because we're going to have to transition from moles or using moles as an intermediary in our calculations. So one of the things that we started working on last semester was grams and being able to go from grams to moles. So as we're doing this, let's just say we're trying to go from grams to moles. We're going to need some conversion factor to help us do that. And if it's a conversion factor, that means it's going to be a fraction. We're going to have some units on the top and some on the bottom. If I'm starting with grams, that means that I want to cancel them out. So I'm going to have a unit of grams on the bottom. Specifically, we're going to be looking for molar mass. So that's what our capital M's stand for there. The MM means molar mass. And we get that from the periodic table. And since this is the molar mass, if we have grams on the bottom of this fraction, that means we have 1 mole on the top. And that's how we convert from grams to moles. If, on the other hand, we're given moles to begin with, then in order to go away from our unit of moles and go to our unit of grams, we'll need a similar conversion factor with units in a slightly different place. If we're beginning with moles, that means that we want to cancel it out. So we should have the unit of mole on the bottom. If we desire grams as our final answer, then we're going to need to have grams on top. That's the unit, which means we need to find the molar mass. Again, that is on the periodic table. Molar mass is from the periodic table. All right, so that's half of our problems that we've dealt with. The other set of problems that we've dealt with is going from the concept of the mole to representative particles. And remember that representative particles can be either molecules, they can be atoms, they can be ions. Basically, a representative particle is anything in chemistry, but we don't say things in chemistry, we say particles. So let's say that I'm starting with the mole. I need to move away from the mole. Oh, and I forgot to put 1 mole here at the bottom. Okay, so if we, let's say starting with mole, that means I want to cancel it out. So the conversion factor I'm going to use is going to have 1 mole on the bottom. So more important than anything else is that you get your units in place. Once you get your units in place, it will help you put the numbers where they belong. Well, if I'm trying to get to these particles, then I'm going to use Avogadro's number. And I would write particles for representative particles. I'm going to see if I can write this down in smaller print because I'm kind of running out of room on my heart. Particles. There we go. All right, so particles. And remember, particles is just a generic term. We could be talking about molecules. We could be talking about atoms. It's pretty much whatever they gave us in the problem. Well, okay, now let's say that they told us, for example, a number of atoms, and they want to know how many moles are present. Well, we have to get away from that particle then. And if we're trying to get to the unit of mole, we need another conversion factor because we're going to convert from the unit of atoms to the unit of moles. So to get rid of the particles, we would need that particles unit on the bottom. And because we desire to move to the mole unit, we would have 1 mole on top. That magic number between particles and moles is Avogadro's number, 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. And so this is our map of how to get from one unit to another. And most of the time in chemistry, we're actually going to go between, say, grams and go all the way down to molecules or atoms. And the thing is, you see there's no arrow that goes directly from grams to particles. We always have to go through mole as the intermediary before we can get from one side to the other. And so really the mole is the heart of, it's the center of everything that we're going to be doing. Okay, another thing that we wrote down is we had some example conversion factors set up. So make sure that you have this copied down. I'm going to pause for a minute here and write those conversion factors. And then I'm going to ask you to go ahead and write them down, and then I'll talk about what is in each of them. All right, so I'm going to explain the things that I've added here, and then after I've explained them, I'd like you to pause the video and go ahead and write them down yourself in your notes. But the first thing that I have here is going from grams to mole. Whenever they give you a number of grams, that known is going to go in the upper left-hand corner. This is going to be the conversion factor that you will use to cancel out your grams and be left with that desired unit of moles. So that is how you go from grams to moles, by setting it up this way. And if we're going from the mole to grams, you will start with your given number of moles. You'll copy the unit of moles diagonally on the bottom, and then your molar mass will go on top. So this would be what you would write down on your papers if you're going to convert from moles to grams. On the other side here, if they give you a certain number of molecules or a certain number of atoms, then you would, to go to moles, to get away from these particles, you would use this conversion factor, and it would look like this, where the number of particles is whatever they gave you in the problem. That will be your given. You'll set this up, and instead of writing particles, you will write molecules if they gave you molecule. If they gave you atoms, then you will write atoms. But particles, remember, is just a generic chemistry term for things. Anything that they give you, that is the descriptive word that you will put there. And when you divide your number of particles, divide by 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, you will get a number of moles. If they ask for particles and they give you moles, well then, to get away from moles towards particles, you're going to use this conversion factor, and it would look like this on your paper, where the number of moles is the given amount in the problem. It's what they give you. 1 mole will go on the bottom. So in this instant, you're going to be multiplying whatever they give you in the number of moles by Avogadro's number, and remember that the unit is going to be whatever particle type they gave you. And that's how you're going to use your mole heart. Now, to clarify, These, this is not a pound sign, it is a number sign. So I'm going to take, I'm going to rewrite this also, but if you were to fold your heart, we're going to write some things on one side or one half, and the other side you're going to glue into your journal. And it does not matter which side you glue and which side you write on. It really doesn't matter. I am, just because I gave you pink paper, I am going to choose pink. And I'm going to write some of the information that needs to be on the outside. So once you see it up here, just pause the video and copy it down. So lastly, these are the little reminders of what these little symbols mean on the other side or inside of your heart. So on the conversion factors that are given as an example, the number of grams, that's the given number of grams. That's what you start with. MM is the molar mass from the periodic table. Number of moles means that that is the given number of moles. If they give you a number of particles, that is your given, and you always start your calculations with a given. Always start your calculations with what is given. Okay, so that's your setup for the mole heart.